I don't want their first experience to be like ours, where, you know, that first experience of an LGBT plus person was slightly negative. I want them to see someone who's happy and successful and living their best life. In previous years, been a bit nervous about how much I should share with the kids, but seeing their reaction to like the photos of me and Matt is just like, this is really wonderful and really inspiring. And at the moment, unfortunately, I think we are swinging towards the far right, but we know that it swings back, and that we know that when it does swing back, it swings back harder and actually moves us forward in a progressive way. I think we just need to continue what we're doing, be brave for the foreseeable future, and rely on each other as well, and just know that we're not alone.
Hello, I'm your host Ben Cicchetti, and this is Queer Talk with Olly Pike, founder and director of Papanoli, the UK's leading LGBTQ+ educational resource. Papanoli's books and videos are used by primary schools across the UK and beyond to educate, but with the ultimate goal of combating LGBTQ+ prejudice before it can form. Before we get to the episode, I have one favour to ask. Wherever you are watching or listening to this episode, hit that subscribe button. It really will make a massive difference. It allows us to grow, and it allows us to bring you the best and the queerest episodes every single time. So in advance, thank you. Now to the episode. Ollie, I saw recently that through your author visits, you have spoken to over 2,000 primary school students in 2025 alone, probably more by the time this podcast goes live. What impact do those sessions have, and how do you feel they are received by children at that age?
Yeah, I think it's way more than that already, just as we're recording this. It's been a really good year for us. We're like reaching so many children, and it's so fantastic delivering these sessions. I sometimes do them online, but what I've been doing a lot of this year is actually going into the primary schools around London, even visiting some schools outside of London. And the kids are just so inspiring, and they are giving me so much hope at the moment. I think it's very easy to look at the news at the moment and online and feel quite deflated with regards to maybe where some of the world is going and LGBT plus issues. Like it does feel like a dark time in some respects, but honestly, I really want to give people hope with what I've experienced from these children, because I go into these schools, the kids are so welcoming and so accepting, and I share my stories with them, of course, but I also talk a little bit about my journey when I was a kid, how I felt a bit different. I show some pictures of me when I was a child dressed up as a fairy or in some dresses or high heels, and I talk to the kids about it. And I'm like, what would you do if this little boy started at your school next year? And he was a bit nervous about the way he liked to play or dress up. And like the kids are like, yeah, we'd like be his friends. We'd show him around. We'd compliment his outfit. And then I'm like, would you stand up for this kid if he was getting teased? And like the vast majority of them, their hands are straight up. Yeah. And I'm just like, it actually makes me quite emotional, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had like, and I say this to the kids, I'm like, I wish the children at my school, when I was a kid, were as kind and as welcoming as you, because you're all just so awesome. So it's given me life.
I love that.
Basically, was that your question? Is that what you asked?
It was,
yeah.
And I love it. Because to your point, like I didn't have that experience when I was at school. That definitely wasn't the vibe, a long time ago when I was at school. So it's amazing to hear that things have moved forward. And to your point, the kind of the mission around Papanoli, around kind of the education piece, but then hoping to eradicate that kind of homophobia, biphobia, transphobia before it can even take place, right? Because, no one's born homophobic. Homophobia is something you learn.
I will just add, I guess there's a bit of a caveat to that. They're the schools that I'm actually going into. Yeah. So all schools are different. Like, we can't generalize schools. Each school has its own culture and personality. And before I go into schools, my team will have a conversation with like the senior leadership team or the head teacher or deputy head, just to learn about what they've been doing as a school in terms of inclusion and LGBT plus inclusion as well. Because there's no point me going into a school where they haven't kind of really touched this.
Right.
And so it's quite important that they have started their journey or done a little bit of work towards being an LGBT plus inclusive school as well.
Yeah, totally. And we're going to dig more into the kind of the Papanoli work, which I know is incredible. But obviously, you've mentioned how hyper-focused, obviously, Papanoli is on young people. And you've mentioned young Ollie as well. And that's where I'd love to start. Because I have this theory, to understand someone today, you kind of have to understand them when they were young. So reflecting on your childhood, on your teenage years, were there any specific experiences or challenges that stand out to you that shaped the Ollie that sits in front of me today, or even inspired you to create the content that you do now through Papanoli?
Yeah, and I guess it's that classic thing that the vast majority of LGBT plus people have experienced, which is shame and coming to terms with shame and perhaps not fitting neatly into societal expectations when it comes to things like expression or love or attraction. And I think before I went to school, I was very, carefree and happy to express myself in various ways in terms of dressing up or playing with what might be considered stereotypical girls' toys or clothes or dolls or whatever. And yeah, it was actually when I started going to school, about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, that I noticed I would get policed by the other children because I was playing with a girl's toy or I wasn't playing with the boys. And that's what I remember. Those are some of my earliest memories. And also then it then leads on. It doesn't just become the children, it's like grown-ups as well.
Yeah.
So like whether it's teachers saying something or even other family members or family friends just making little comments like, oh, why are you playing with that one? That's like the girl stuff. Go and play with the boy stuff. I guess they're kind of like little micro aggressions as well
Yeah.
in terms of like gender policing. So that's kind of what I remember as a very young child. And I also remember very quickly learning to edit myself and hide certain parts of my personality. And actually, this is kind of what I say to the kids. I'm like, I stopped dressing up and I stopped being myself for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And I say to the kids, like, what do you think about that? And they're all like, oh, that's really, really sad. Or sometimes the children are like, oh, that makes me really angry. It's not fair.
Yeah.
They have really strong sense of justice, children, in terms of like what's fair and what's not. So yeah, those are my experience as like a young child. And I guess that kind of just stayed with me through my teenage years as well. And as I guess I was learning more about who I was whilst picking up on external factors in terms of like, oh, being gay isn't a great thing. Because I grew up, I was born in 1986, so I grew up under Section 28, and all of my schoolhood actually up until I was 16 or 18 was Section 28 was in place. So I never had anything told to me about LGBT plus. Certainly wasn't explained that some people are gay and it's okay. So yeah, I guess I just spent my teenage years again feeling ashamed of where I was, feeling a bit isolated. And actually, when I do my talks to adults, when I go into companies and talk about my journey, I often talk about this little shame dragon that I had that kind of grew inside of me and started when I was a child, but it would grow and get bigger as I got older. And I remember as a teenager, sometimes just like crying myself to sleep at night or like praying to whoever, like the universe or God, to like, please just don't let me be like different, not in this way. And that's coming from someone who was super privileged as well. I had so much privilege. I have to make a little joke that I had a brand new set of scented gel pens every September, which is like peak privilege. And yeah, I still feel that way, still felt that way. And there's just so many other people, other LGBT plus people who experience similar or much, much worse in terms of feeling ashamed of who they were. And we know that statistically that, this still exists because young LGBT plus people are far more likely to self-harm, far more likely to have mental health issues, or, tragically far more likely to take their own life as well. So part of the work I do, I guess, is about healing my younger self as well. But, a big, big part of it has now grown into helping others and inspiring these children to know that they can grow up to be whoever they're meant to be.
And it's so important. And it's, as you say, I'm also a 1986 baby, which makes me very sad, because 1986 has been much kinder to you than it has to me, potentially, as people will agree when they'll look at this video. But I grew up in that era where, where gay was the most insulting thing you could call someone, especially at primary school. And that was such a negative word that the idea that that might be who I am was traumatic, right? And as you say, you kind of bury that deep inside. I think it's something that people don't think about, is the years it takes to unpick that self-hate, that kind of, that part of you that you've been hiding for so long before you can be your true, authentic self. And I think one of the things that I think about a lot, and what I am very happy about, is that for young LGBTQ plus people today, I think they have more exposure to things like Heartstopper, things like Love Victor, Red, White, and Royal Blue, these shows and films where they show queer love, where they show different forms of love, which just didn't exist when I was a kid. There was nothing like that. You might get the occasional gay character on EastEnders or Hollyoaks or something like that, but nothing kind of super focused on it. Do you remember the first LGBTQ plus person you became aware of, either in real life or through media, TV, movies, or anything like that?
I guess it was through media, through television. It probably would have been something like Anthony Cotton on Coronation Street, or
Yeah.
I think there was like John Paul on Hollyoaks or something.
Yeah.
And the problem with that was that their gayness was always the issue, and it was the storyline.
Yeah.
And although it may have been progress that, we had these gay queer characters on television, their identities were an issue in that program. And so therefore, as a young teenager, you're like, oh, I'm like that person. Look at all the hassle they're getting. Look at this storyline. Oh yeah, it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I guess I understand, it was a stepping stone in terms of getting representation in the mainstream media as well. But that's why it's so important to me that I'm going into these schools and I'm not just sharing my stories of like, oh, look at this cute little story of two princes that fall in love. But actually, once I've told that story, I then show a picture of me and my boyfriend as well. Because I want the children to be like, oh, okay, so this is, a gay person standing right in front of me. I don't even use the word gay in my session. I don't even say the word LGBT plus or gay in my sessions. I'm just like, oh yeah, so I needed this book when I was a kid, but it didn't exist, and that's why I wrote it. And I needed it because I grew up and I fell in love with my own prince, and then I show a picture of me and my boyfriend Matt. And the kids, it's so interesting, the reaction with that, because sometimes the kids are like, oh yeah, cool. Like, you've got a boyfriend, you're gay. Like, I know my uncle's gay or whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's the other reaction, which is also quite sweet as well. Because it's like they see the two gay characters in the book and they're fine. But then when I say I'm gay, and well, I don't say I'm gay. When I show the picture of me and my boyfriend, they're like, whoa, he has a boyfriend. Whoa. However, a few moments later, I also say, yeah, sometimes me and my boyfriend will just play PlayStation. And it's the same reaction. So the kid's like, whoa, he plays PlayStation. So sometimes they're just amazed by anything, which I just find quite funny. Yeah. But, I think I'm just really proud of myself that I just do it. I think years ago, I think I was a bit afraid to that the personal side of me into these sessions that I was doing. I would just come in and like read the story and stuff. But now I'm like, no, and this is the reason why I wrote this book, and this is my partner. Because I want the kids to see a real life gay person.
Yeah.
and know that it's okay. And just always remember that. I don't want their first experience to be like ours, where, you know, that first experience of an LGBT plus person was slightly negative. I want them to see someone who's happy and successful and living their best life, which I think I am.
100%.
And I just want to inspire the kids, and just inspire them to, you know, as I said, grow up and be whoever they're meant to be and do what's right for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that you bring is, you know, I can feel it in this conversation already, and I see it on kind of your social media accounts. I see it on the work you do with Papanoli, is authenticity. You're very authentically you. And I think authenticity is something super interesting. When do you think you first felt authentically this is who Ollie is? And when did you first feel you could then bring that to the table in everything that you do?
Um, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I think there's always been like a part of me that's always been authentic. I used to work in theatre and television, so I like trained as a dancer and actor, and so something really important to me and something I'm passionate about, obviously, is storytelling. Whether it's, you know, my books, or whether it's telling a story on stage or through dance or through singing. And the story's not good unless it contains, you know, a hint of authenticity. So whenever I was like playing these characters, whether I was being Peter Pan or Jack and the Beanstalk, like I had to believe that I was that character just for it to like. I mean, I think we've all seen bad performances and good performances. We know when an actor's really in the role and that actor believes that they're part, that it makes a good story. So I think I've always had this ability to be authentic, but it was easier to be authentic when I was playing someone else.
Mm.
And I almost did that for a little while with my YouTube personality. It's like there was a version of Ollie. I mean, there still is a version of Ollie on the YouTube channel, because I started that YouTube channel when I was 25. And I guess the Ollie that you see on the YouTube channel is still 25-year-old Ollie, because it's just kind of been the same character, which is this like, I don't know, happy, upbeat. So how's it going? Which is me, and it does have the
Yeah.
authenticity to it. But I think as I'm getting older, it's been easier to let my guard down a little bit and share more of myself, particularly with the kids as well. I think I've always, you know, in previous years, been a bit nervous about how much I should share with the kids, but seeing their reaction to like the photos of me and Matt is just like, this is really wonderful and really inspiring.
Yeah. I love
That's my
that.
boyfriend, by the way. I'm not sure if I said that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's interesting is that, you know, that you even had to think about it, right? How much of myself should I bring? Should I talk about my boyfriend when, you know, I suspect a straight person coming in wouldn't even have a second thought about mentioning their husband or wife, right? It wouldn't even be
Yeah,
a
exactly.
consideration point. Whereas for us, it is. It is something we have to think about. I think about it when from in a working environment. It's like any time I mention my husband, there is a chance the person I'm talking to is homophobic, and there is a chance that even mentioning my husband is going to create an instant barrier. Whereas that's just not a kind of a consideration that somebody in a straight couple even has to think about.
Yeah, yeah. Because we as a company obviously spend a lot of time with teachers, provide a number of resources, speaking with them. And this is an issue that a lot of LGBT plus teachers face in terms of like how open can they be in schools? Because as you just said, so many times heterosexual or seemingly heterosexual relationships are celebrated in schools, whether someone's going off to get married or like going on maternity leave. And I think a lot of the time, yeah, as you said, those teachers, they wouldn't even think about it. But LGBT plus teachers sometimes feel a bit like, oh, I don't know if I can put a photo of me and my partner on my desk,
Yeah.
like my heterosexual counterparts do. I'm going off to get married. I don't know how much I should tell the kids because it's a same-sex wedding. And I know in the past, a lot of teachers have spoken to us or spoken openly at events about how that's been a real issue for them. And like you said, like how authentic can queer people be in their workplace, whether they're working with children or not?
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned kind of the work you do. If I was a kid sitting in that hall listening to you talk, it would be incredibly inspiring to me. It would be something that would give me a feeling that I can be my true self even at that age. So for you, who was your inspiration growing up? And obviously I'm saying that I think what you're doing is inspiring, but how do you hope that you do inspire others?
That was two questions, Ben.
It was. It was. I'm sorry.
um, Let me do the first. So the first question: who was my inspiration growing up?
Yeah.
I think I didn't really have like an LGBT plus queer inspiration growing up necessarily, but I think what I did have, which a lot of 90s baby had, was the Spice Girls.
Yes. There we go.
And I think they were my first humans that I actually adored, because before them it was, I guess it was like cartoon characters or like Disney princesses or whatever. But I think when I saw them, I think I was like 10 years old, and I was like, these are girls, but they're not like any of the girls I've seen before. They're really loud and they're really like mad, like running around being cheeky. They're breaking the rules. And I think I just found that really inspiring, because I was like, oh, this, in my head, what I thought was a girl was like, they should be a princess in a story.
Right. Yeah.
But I experienced them and I was like, oh, look, not only are they showing there's a different way to be a girl, but there's 5 different ways to be a girl here, because they were also individual. And I guess for me, that was, they were pop stars, and I guess it was, just fun as well. But they were really empowering for like a whole generation of girls and
And
boys and
gays.
non-binary people and
Yeah.
gays as well, because it was like, yeah, there's options. So I think for me,
True.
that was probably my first inspirational people that I came across.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I
was
can see
obsessed with
that.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the first concert I ever went to. So you're speaking
Me
to someone that
too.
this resonates
Yeah.
with so very, very clearly.
I only got to see them as a 4 though. I saw them after Jerry left. It wasn't quite
Okay.
the same, but it was still good. Yeah.
It was still good. Yeah. I saw them when they were still a 5-piece. I've seen them a few times actually. I should be
Yeah.
I'm that much of a fan, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're amazing.
I have subsequently like met a couple of Spice Girls. I've been very in close proximity
Right. Subtle
with.
brag.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just kind of like, oh my God. Like, I actually get really starstruck around quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I like to just admire famous people from afar. You know that whole thing of like never meet your idols?
Mm.
I kind of like to live by that, because it's like, I just like to admire people from afar. I don't know if I want to like have a conversation with you, because what would I say?
Yeah.
I just
I'm
get
such a big fan.
I get a bit silly. Yeah, and I'm just like, no, I don't, I can't. But
That's fair.
yeah,
And
I
then
did meet Mel C, which was very, very cool, because when I was in theatre, she came and performed with us. I used to be
oh
in
wow.
a show called We Will Rock You, which was in like the West End in London.
Yes. Yeah.
And for 1 year, I think this was like 2012, she was doing something for children in need.
Okay.
So she came and like rehearsed with us and like performed with us. And I just remember going up to her and being like, "Hi, I went to the same dance school as you." I didn't really know what else to say. Because we both went to the same like theatre college.
That's amazing.
That was kind of like, that was like a highlight. But yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I love that. And then obviously that's, who inspired you, who inspired me. But you obviously, a lot of people would say, you're going to be their inspiration, right? You're going to be the person that, you are going to be the first gay person a lot of people, kids meet, that will then maybe inspire them to either just be better humans and love everyone for who they are, or it will inspire them to kind of be their true authentic self. So what what inspiration, or how do you hope you inspire other people, for the second part of that two-part question I asked?
um, I hope I just inspire, I guess, familiarity in terms of like, oh yeah, there's gay people, they exist. And also it's like, it doesn't have to be a big deal. Like you don't have to be an author that's written children's books to be like a role model and inspiration. I think where people just openly living their lives and not being ashamed of who they are, that's huge. Like just for a child to see LGBT plus people living their lives and being happy,
Yeah.
I think that's huge. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's massive. And I think something you said earlier, actually, which really resonated, was you don't, when you're doing these talks, you're not necessarily going to stand up and say that you are gay or even talk about being gay. And there is this theory that true equality would be a time where gay people just didn't have to come out, where trans people didn't have to come out, that they would just be themselves and that would be accepted and loved, and there would be no need for that kind of massive quote unquote coming out moment. And obviously that's part of the work that you're doing, is making it that easier transition for people to be able to come out or to just love people for who they are. So let's dig into Papanoli a little bit more. What was your inspiration for the original Papanoli, and what was kind of your original vision for it?
Yeah. This was a really long time ago. So I started that YouTube channel in 2012.
Right.
And back then I was still working in theatre and some television, and I'd done a lot of children's theatre and children's television. And I'd just kind of fallen in love with that world because it was so fantastical and imaginative. And it just really suited me. Like as a kid, I'd always loved fairy tales. So I was just drawn to it, I guess. And so I wanted to create my own YouTube channel. And my initial idea was just literally like, I just want to make my own like kids show and have fun with it. I think I also needed to make a show reel for something as well. So I kind of had that in mind. I was like, well, for this show reel, why don't I just like make a mini episode of a kids show? And I dreamt up my little balloon character Pop. Um, yeah, at the time, some of my friends called me Olly Pop. So I was
Okay.
like, oh, I should use that. Turned out I couldn't use it later on because that's been copyrighted, hence why we're called Papanoli now.
Okay.
But that's
Good
another
insight.
story. And I was like, oh, what goes pop? And so I was thinking of different things that go pop. And the best thing I came up with was a balloon. And 12 years later, we're still here. 13 years later,
I
he's
love it.
still here.
Yeah.
He's the little character. He was an actual balloon at the very beginning, which was such a nightmare to like film with because it would just keep literally
I
popping.
bet. Yeah.
And now he's like a little animated character, which is so much easier. And also the really like little baby ones, they love it when I do have like a little a puppet version, I guess, of Pop that I do with my story times, and they find him very fun and exciting. But yeah, no, my first kind of idea with the show was like arts and crafts because I always love like making things. So my first few videos were like how to make, I don't know, a paper lantern, or like, oh, what was my first thing I made? I can't even remember. Yeah, like things out of Twitter. Right? I guess it was kind of like Blue Peter-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
But then after maybe like a year of doing that, I was like, oh, I wonder if I could like make a video that had some gay characters in it. Because I feel like I needed that when I was a kid. And so I decided to do that. And then that one video just kind of went viral. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm onto something here. And I made that video more with, I think, LGBT plus parents in mind.
Okay.
Because I was like, they're gonna want to see their families reflected.
Yeah.
They're gonna want their children to see that their family reflected in media, and there wasn't really anything that existed like that at the time. So I made this video about different types of families that included same-sex partners. And yeah, it just went viral. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm onto something. But what I didn't expect was what happened, and that was schools started getting in touch,
Mm.
primary schools, and they were saying, "Oh, we're using your video to teach the children about like different types of families and equality and inclusivity." And
Amazing.
this was like 2014 when I did this video, and back then I was very um kind of green in terms of my journey with equality, and I didn't know anything back then. Um, so when schools started reaching out and saying that, I was like, "That's great. Are you allowed to do that?" Because I didn't know. I didn't know back then. I'm pleased to say I'm somewhat of a primary LGBT plus expert
Yeah.
today, but yeah, it's been a real journey learning about like government guidance with regards to like LGBT plus inclusion at primary level. I've done a lot of reading with regards to things like that. But yeah, after that first video went viral and schools started using them, I was just like, wow, this content's needed. I made more videos. I then got the brainwave to um turn some of my most popular videos into books, and because then that was a way of making money and meant I could fund the channel,
Yeah.
make more videos and grow. And here we are, 9 books later, millions and millions of views on YouTube, multi-award winning company.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are really good at the moment. We are really successful, actually. As we're such a tiny company, there's like 3 of us, and people really can't believe it when they go on our website. They're like, but it just looks like there's so many more people working for this.
Mm.
But yeah, it's the 3 of us. It's me. I guess I'm the founder and the director, but I'm also kind of the creative lead. So I do all the illustrations and writing and storytelling. But then I've also got Mel Lane, who's our head of education, and Mel is a primary teacher for over 20 years, maybe 25 years. This is on our About page if anyone's interested.
Yeah.
And they really take the stories that I write and they think about how we can put them into classrooms, create lesson plans, which are for free. And all our videos are for free as well. Mel then comes up with classroom activities. She helps me with my author sessions and like workshop sessions. And then we also have Jack Lynch on the team as well. They, them, and they are our head of workshops and training. And Jack has worked with children, I think for over 10 years. But they go in and deliver our sessions as well. But when Jack does it, they're more kind of like explaining what LGBT plus means as well. So
Okay.
when I go into schools, I'm like, oh, I'm an author, I do this. And then what happens, sometimes the school is like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Can your colleague come in and do another kind of session about exactly what LGBT plus means as well? So yeah, and then we have the amazing Alex Cannon, who is Mel's child, who is also like a really helpful consultant for us as well. So there's about 3.5 of us
There you go.
that run this company, and we are, yeah, achieving a lot.
I love that. Yeah, it's amazing to see what it has become. It's amazing to see kind of all the incredible work you're doing. And obviously we'll include a link to the website and to your social accounts in this show notes. So if anyone wants to kind of dig into it more, they definitely can. And we can kind of go through some of that more information. Obviously, LGBTQ plus representation in children's media, as you touched on, it didn't exist when we were younger. And historically, it's either been limited or even controversial. And now it's controversial again, especially across the pond in the US, where we are seeing, book bans and book burnings and crazy things happening for LGBTQ plus people and don't say gay bills and things like that. Here in the UK, have you faced any resistance or challenges with Papanoli? And if so, kind of how have you navigated those conversations while staying true to your mission? Or has it been smooth sailing?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start the answer to this question with a positive, and that is that the vast, vast majority of parents in the UK actually want their children to learn about LGBT people. a study from Just Like Us, the charity Just Like Us. They found that I think it's 83% of parents want their children to learn about different types of families, including, same-sex parents.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to start by saying it's overwhelmingly positive. And even just like the queue of parents at the end of my session at the schools, because they sell books afterwards.
Yeah.
So the kids can like come and buy a book and get a sticker, and I sign the book. Like the queue of parents line up. It's like I have to have like teachers helping me, because it's like it's just so
Amazing.
many. And just seeing all these parents wanting their children to have these books, not just
Yeah.
at school but at home as well. It's just like, oh, this is incredible. So yeah, I want to start with that. But of course, there is a loud minority who feel bigger than they are, who oppose this inclusion in schools, in homes, in anywhere really. But the thing is, Ben, the thing is, it's actually the law that children are prepared for life in modern Britain.
Yeah.
So we have the Equality Act, as you know, which came into place in 2010. So that's the law of the land, that LGBT people are treated fairly, and all British citizens need to know that. And it's a school's obligation to make sure that children are prepared for life in modern Britain. It even states on the relationship education guidance, the primary section says that children need to leave primary school knowing that different types of families exist. And even on there, it says the letters LGBT. They left the plus off, but we'll park
work
that for
on
a
that.
minute. But it says that on black and white on the government guidance that's in place right now. And there's various draft things floating around that we've seen over the previous years, but that's all they are at this moment. They're draft, and actually we're not hearing much about them. So right now there's so much evidence provided by the government that schools must be teaching about LGBT people. And on top of that, there's so many mental health statistics that just demonstrate, hey, if you do this, it's going to benefit everyone, not just the LGBT plus children. It's going to benefit all children as well. And there's countless studies.
Yeah.
There's countless studies that demonstrate children aren't born prejudiced.
Exactly.
So yeah, I got my little PR hat on then.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
Like, here's
it's
what
so
I have to
important.
say. I'm going to be very careful. But this is the thing. I feel like I do have to be quite careful now. When I first started doing interviews and things, I was just kind of saying what I felt personally. This is what I think. But, as we've grown as an organization, I'm like, well, actually, I'm representing this company.
Yeah.
And, what are the facts? What is in black and white? And so I'm quite aware of that when I'm doing things like interviews.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And obviously you mentioned both students and the educators. In the kind of the decade that you've been doing this now, have you seen a shift in attitudes? And do you think, guys, what role do you think Papanoli is playing in helping facilitate that shift?
That is an interesting question. And as I kind of said at the beginning of this podcast, every school is different. Like even the schools I'm going into, where they want me to come in, it's like I see different levels of where they are in their journeys. Some of the kids are like, like we have this rainbow flag up all year round, like we know about LGBT plus people, and then other schools are maybe not that far along. So I guess the attitudes are slightly different, even in the schools I'm going into. But what I'm seeing is a lot of accepting and a lot of welcoming as well. And I think we just exist in a world where, unfortunately, it's a bit of a pendulum in terms of social attitudes. So I'm talking maybe outside of school at the moment.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I believed that societal attitudes just continue to get more liberal and liberal, and everything's going to be great in the end. But actually, what I'm realizing is that these things swing back and forth. And at the moment, they swing back and forth, but when they swing the liberal way, they tend to swing a little bit more. And at the moment, unfortunately, I think we are swinging towards the far right. Um, but we know that it swings back, and that we know that when it does swing back, it swings back harder and actually moves us forward in a progressive way. I think we just need to continue what we're doing and be brave for the foreseeable future, and rely on each other as well, and just know that we're not alone. And also try to come together a bit more. I sometimes feel like as a community, we can be quite fractured at points, and actually that really weakens us. So I think sometimes we need to think about how we can come together a bit better as an LGBT plus community.
I
Yeah.
agree. Strength in numbers.
Yeah. Sorry, I have this habit, Ben, of like you ask me a question, I'll answer the question, and then I'll like start talking about something else.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. And it's all super important, right? Because it's the work that needs to get done, and it's the message that needs to get across. You know, as you say, if we are on that kind of swing back at the moment, it is that we need to stand tall, and we need to stand strong, and we need to stand together, to your point, so that when the swing does come back to the more liberal side, it does go that extra mile that maybe we haven't achieved yet, so that we do kind of continually make, it shouldn't be, you know, these kind of continual steps backward, but it should be when we do make those steps forward that they are larger steps, so that if that swing back happens again, it's not quite as far as it's going this time. It's not as far as it went in, say, the 80s and the 90s and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and like historically, that's what we see. Like it does always progress. So I'm optimistic, particularly with, you know, the children, and knowing that they're going to be future adults. I'm like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
Yeah. And more young people are identifying as LGBTQ plus as well, right? So that's a massive factor in this, is, as you know, thanks to the work that people like you are doing, people feel like they can be their true selves and they can identify that way much earlier. And so as generations move on, you would hope that these things, the swing backs will be less and the swings forward will be much, much stronger.
Exactly. To quote Tracy Turnblad from Hairspray, you can't stop the beat.
There we go.
Hopefully that's not a problematic musical in any way, but I always have that in the back of my head. It's like, you can't stop the beat. We're going to progress, and it's going to be fabulous, and we're going to sing and dance.
I love it. I love it. And look, obviously the work that you're doing at Papanoli is incredibly important, incredibly vital. How can people get involved in Papanoli?
Well, Ben, you've already done an amazing job at getting involved. You have already donated not one, but two Papanoli books to your old primary school. So the school that you went to as a kid, I have sent two books there. I think I sent three. I actually think I slipped another one in as well. To that head teacher and the PSHE lead of that school, so they would have received the books by now. So that's what you can do if you've been inspired, I guess, by anything I've said today. You can go to papanoli.com and click on the big donate button that's at the very top, or just put /donate. You can find out how to send a book or a couple of books to your old primary school. You can even see if that primary school has already got copies of our books, because we've got a huge database on our Pride in Primary website. But hey, maybe you're inspired to donate a Papanoli book to other UK primary schools every single month, and you can actually do that by becoming a Papanoli patron of varying levels. And yeah, actually, at the moment, we're donating roughly about 120 Papanoli books every single month to UK primary schools. And a lot of the time we'll send schools not just one book, but maybe like one or two or three. But yeah, that's all thanks to the Papanoli patrons who were helping to do that. And to date, we've actually donated over 12,000 of these LGBT plus Papanoli books to UK primary schools. So we're doing really well. And I couldn't have done it without all the support of so many people like yourself. And like all the people who just wanted to spread queer joy across the country and for the next generation.
I love that. Well, yeah, as I say, we will include a link in the show notes for this. So people should definitely go and check it out, learn more information, donate a book, donate 2 books if you can, and just get involved. Follow Papanoli on social media and just kind of get involved in all the incredible work. We started this conversation with young Ollie and talking about you when you were younger. Looking back now, following this entire conversation, this journey we've gone on, what advice would you give to your younger self? And would that message be different to young LGBTQ plus people today?
Yeah, I think so, because the kids today, I give them different advice than what I would give myself, because they're growing up in a different world. The advice I give kids when I go into schools is to, follow what excites you and stay curious and know that you belong. Every single person belongs. That's kind of like the main advice I give to children at the moment. But what advice would I give to little me? Oh gosh. Hang in there. I don't know. I think that's what everyone would say. But yeah, I'll probably hang in there. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm so grateful. I've got so many amazing things in my life. I love running this organization. I love having the impact we're having. I get to like do my favorite things all the time. I think maybe I'll do another quote from another problematic probably film, which is Dumbo, which isn't great for various reasons, but there is a cool quote in there. I think the little mouse says it to Dumbo. He says, "The very thing that holds you down is going to be what lifts you up." And I think that is relevant to me and so many other people who have felt different. And let's face it, everyone has felt different growing up. So I think sometimes the thing that makes us different is actually our superpower.
I love that. I think that's amazing. And yeah, stick in there, because not only one day will you have an incredible impact, but you'll be on stage collecting awards, looking fabulous, getting to do the incredible stuff that you do. So
meeting the Spice Girls.
There you go.
Yeah, some of them. 2 of them anyway.
I love that. Right. Well, we're going to end with our rapid fire questions. And the first one, and I have a feeling I might know the answer to this, but we'll see. Who is your favorite queer icon?
My favorite queer icon? There's so many, Ben, that, and I said to you at the beginning, it's like I get a bit starstruck, and I kind of live by that thing of like, don't meet your idols. Because I think what I've learned from meeting so many celebrities, famous people, is that we shouldn't put people on pedestals, because they are just human. They are just like us. So there probably isn't just one queer icon that I have. I have so many. And actually, what I do at Papanoli is every single month I illustrate a new, I call them rainbow heroes. So for example, March's rainbow hero is Sandy Toksvig, and the patrons vote for it. This month, February, when we've been recording this episode, it was Josephine Baker, because it's been LGBT plus History Month. So I don't necessarily have one queer icon. I just have so many which I just respect. I tell you who I think is utterly fantastic, though, and I'm so grateful that our community has her. Chun Fei, who is probably the smartest person I've ever come across. she's an academic and has written multiple books, including the transgender issue. Oh my gosh, she is the smartest person I think I vaguely know. So I think she's an icon. Yeah. Who did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to go straight for the Spice Girls. Like, I thought it was going to be
Well,
like a
they're
Spice
more allies, aren't
Girl.
they? They're more allies. I
Yeah,
don't know. Did Mel B come out as a little bit
I
bi?
think she might
I'm not
have.
sure.
And there's,
Oh,
yeah.
I'll
But
have to draw
I thought
her
that's
then.
where that's where I thought you were going to go. We've heard Madonna, we hear people like that, but I thought you were going to go straight for the Spice Girls. But that's fair, and I think that's a great shout. And obviously, people can follow your Papanoli and kind of meet and get to know each of these queer icons every month, which I think is incredibly important.
Yeah, and
Next
actually the
rapid.
patrons vote for them as well. So
I love that.
at the start of the month, I'll say, here are 4 queer people or allies. Like, who do you want me to illustrate this month? So you get to choose if you get involved.
There you go. That's a great incentive. Next to our rapid fire questions, what is your favorite queer TV show, movie, musical, book, any of the above?
Okay, I mean, again, there's so many. My favorite, I'm just going to pick a book. I read a lot of books, but my favorite one in recent times is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Do you know that one? It's a book.
I haven't read it.
It
No.
is right up my street. It is like fantasy, like fairy tale elements. It is
Mm.
just, but it's also there's gay characters in it as well, and it's just yeah, I've really enjoyed reading that book recently. So if you like fantasy and fiction, or actually, it's between that and do you know Dawson's Her Majesty's Royal Coven? They're my like 2 favorite books
I
at
love
the
that.
moment.
I
Yeah.
love that. I'm ready for a new book, so I'll definitely check one of those out. If you had to lip sync for your life, what song would you choose?
Okay, well, you can probably guess this one. So I think it would be, I have to go with something safe because there's so many songs that I would like to lip sync to, but I don't actually know the words.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I would go for Spice Girls, Spice Up Your Life because I know all the words and I know the chorus routine dance.
Amazing.
So I feel quite confident doing that.
Yeah. I think that's a great choice. I think mine might
Yeah.
be Stop because I feel like I can do the full dance for Stop
I
by
mean,
the Spice
you
Girls.
could. Yeah.
It'd be
It's
pretty
okay, that
iconic.
one. It didn't quite make it to number 1, that one, did it?
It didn't. I think that was
No,
the
it's
first one
not.
that didn't, and it was a
Yeah,
heartbreaking
and then
moment
it
in the
started to
Cicchetti household.
unravel. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. I mean, number 2, you can't complain at number 2.
Yeah, we wouldn't
Yeah.
complain, would we?
No.
If you could have one drink with any queer person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Any queer person, dead or alive. Again, there's so many people that are so iconic that I'd be scared to like meet. But I don't know, maybe it would be cool to have a drink with Freddie Mercury
Yeah.
because they'd be like, I did this show. What did you think of this show that is based on your life? And I think he'd probably be like, oh, it'd be better if I was in it. But I think he'd probably like it. I think he would be a cool person to have a drink with. So can I
Sure.
say an LGBT plus ally as well, who's kind of same era as Freddie
Go for it.
Mercury? I mean, this is complete cliche, but I would love to have a drink with Princess Diana.
Yeah.
She's like one of my icons. I'm obsessed with her. I think she was so wonderful from what we saw.
Yeah. I agree.
And she was like a huge queer ally. And was mates with Freddie Mercury, so maybe the 3 of us could all have a little drink. That would be cool.
That would be a hell of a dinner party. That would be
Yeah.
pretty phenomenal. The final of our rapid fire questions are: who in your network would you like to hear on this podcast, and what one question would you want me to ask them?
Okay. This is a bit of a silly one. So there's 3 people that you could ask this question of, and it's whoever you get on here first. So I would like you to ask either Tia Coffee, Vanity Milan, or Electra Fence if I'm not actually engaged yet, but if they would officiate mine and my boyfriend Matt's wedding, that's what we've been
Wow.
planning.
Okay. Okay. No
We
pressure
would
on me then.
absolutely love that. So if you can make that happen,
Yeah.
that would be
Okay.
really cool. Yeah, we're not actually engaged, but hopefully soon we will be.
Nice.
But we keep talking about our wedding and kind of like what we want, and we really want it to like show our personalities. And we're like, we have to have drag queens there because we are huge Drag Race fans, and
Yeah.
we're just like, oh, we would love to like have one of the UK Drag Race queens like officiate our wedding and perform as well. So I mean, obviously we'll pay them, but
Yeah.
maybe you can act
I
as their
can put a
agent
good
or
word.
something. Yeah.
Okay, zero pressure on me, but I'll try and make that happen.
Yeah, you can make it happen.
We can do this. We can do this. Ollie, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today. And just thank you for the incredible work you're doing, right? Like, I think about myself as a young person to have had someone like you who could have shown me that, A, I'm going to be able to be happy, I'm going to be able to live a full, authentic life would have just been so meaningful and I think in many ways life-changing. So I appreciate the incredible work that you and the entire team at Papanoli do. I really do encourage everyone to get involved. Click the link in the show notes, find out more, donate a book, become a patron, do whatever you can do. And just thank you so much for your incredible work and for being on the podcast with me today.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, I do. I just love it. I don't just do it because, you know, it's helping the world. It's like, I literally just love writing stories and making videos and illustrating. I love it. I love what I do. And thank you for having me.
Quit talking walls and winding road. Together we